The bridge of the human vessel Defiance was quiet, except for the soft beeping of damaged systems. Captain Jack stood by the main viewport, his eyes fixed on the stars beyond. Less than 24 hours ago, those same stars had been filled with enemy ships now. An uneasy calm had settled across this sector of space. "Damage report," Jack called out, turning to face his crew. Officer Rex looked up from his station, dark circles under his eyes showing his exhaustion. Hull integrity at 68%, weapon systems at 45% capacity, main engines working but not at full power, life support stable. Jack nodded. It could have been worse. Much worse. When the Defiance had unexpectedly dropped out of hyperspace in the middle of what turned out to be Galactic Council territory, no one had expected a warm welcome. But no one had expected immediate attack either. "Any sign of them returning?" Jack asked. "Nothing on long-range scanners," said Tina, the ship's sensor specialist. "They seem to have pulled back to regroup." Jack walked to the center command chair and sat down heavily. His mind replayed the battle that had erupted when the alien fleet opened fire without warning or attempt at communication. The Defiance, though only one ship, had managed to hold its own. Earth's military technology, developed in isolation, had proven surprisingly effective against the Council's standardized weapons. "They'll be back," he said quietly. "And next time, they'll bring more ships." Across the galaxy, in the Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council, chaos reigned. Representatives of 12 major alien species argued loudly, their voices echoing off the high ceiling. Admiral Krell, a tall green-skinned being from the verdant species, slammed his fist on the central table. His four eyes narrowed in anger as the room gradually fell silent. "One ship," he shouted. "One single human ship damaged 4 of our patrol vessels and killed 23 crew members. This cannot stand." Counselor Pell, an older member of the bird-like avi species, raised a feathered hand. "We attacked them first, Admiral. Perhaps they were simply defending themselves." "They were in restricted space," Krell shot back. "The quarantine of their sector has stood for 5,000 years. There are reasons their kind was isolated." From the shadows of the chamber, Intelligence Officer Tora watched the debate with interest. Unlike the others, she had spent the night searching the Council's oldest records. What she found disturbed her. Mentions of humans were surprisingly scarce for a species dangerous enough to warrant complete isolation from the galactic community. One ancient file, heavily encrypted, had caught her attention. It suggested the quarantine had been established not because humans were dangerous, but because they asked too many questions. Questions about the Council's authority. Questions about freedom. Tora slipped away from the chamber. She needed to dig deeper before sharing her findings. Back on the Defiance, the crew gathered in the meeting room. Maps and tactical displays covered the walls, showing their position relative to known space. "We have 3 options," Jack said, addressing the 25 humans who represented Earth's first deep space mission. "First, we try to run. The jump drive needs at least 48 hours to recharge, but we might find a place to hide until then." Engineer Sam shook his head. "With the damage we took, they'd track our emissions easily." "Second option," Jack continued, "we attempt communication. Try to explain that we meant no harm by entering their territory." Medical Officer Anna frowned. "They fired without sending a single message. They may not be interested in talking." "The third option," Jack said, his voice lower, "is to prepare for another fight." The room fell silent. They were explorers who had been forced to become warriors. Each person there knew that the Defiance, remarkable as it was, couldn't stand against an entire galactic force. "There might be a fourth option," said comm specialist Pete, who had been quietly working at a terminal. "I've been analyzing their communications during the battle. They use a standardized system across their fleet. I might be able to tap into their network." Jack raised an eyebrow. "To do what?" "To listen," Pete replied. "Find out what we're dealing with. Maybe find some leverage." "Do it," Jack ordered. "In the meantime, Sam, get repair teams working around the clock. Everyone else prepare for both diplomacy and defense. We represent all of humanity out here, and I won't let Earth become a target because of our actions. Admiral Krell stood, alone in his command ship, staring at holographic images of the human vessel. Its design was unlike anything in the Council database. Efficient, practical, deadly. His aide entered the room quietly. The Council has reached a decision, Admiral. And they've authorized a full battle group, 5 capital ships, 20 support vessels. You're to eliminate the human threat before they can report back to their homeworld. Krell nodded in satisfaction. The quarantine must be maintained. Humans are unpredictable. The ancient records are clear on that point. There's something else, sir, the aide added. Intelligence Officer Tora has been accessing restricted files about Earth, files from before the quarantine. The Admiral's expression darkened. Find her. Now! Tora moved quickly through the lower levels of the Council station. She had downloaded as many files as she could before her access was inevitably discovered. Now she needed to find a secure transmitter. The truth had to get out. Humans hadn't been quarantined for the safety of the galaxy. They had been isolated because they represented a different way of thinking, a challenge to the Council's absolute authority. Finding an unused communications bay, she quickly set up the equipment. She didn't know if the human ship would receive her transmission, but she had to try. To the Earth vessel, she began, speaking in the common galactic language. You are in grave danger. The Council has ordered your destruction. But there are those among us who question the old ways. The quarantine of your world was not what you have been told. She paused as a noise in the corridor caught her attention. Security forces were coming. She quickly finished her message and sent it, erasing all evidence of the transmission just as the door slid open. On the Defiance, Pete's eyes widened as an unexpected message came through his modified receiver. Captain, he called over the ship's comm. You need to see this now. Jack arrived moments later, joined by several other officers. They watched in silence as Tora's message played. According to these old records, the alien woman's voice continued. Humans were once part of the galactic community. Your adaptability, your creativity, your questioning nature, these were seen as threats by those in power. The Council didn't fear your violence. They feared your ideas. The message cut off abruptly. Can we track where this came from? Jack asked. Pete nodded. A station about 2 light years from here. Jack looked around at his crew, their faces showing a mix of confusion and determination. It seems, he said slowly, that we didn't start this war after all. We just reminded them of one they thought they'd finished long ago. He straightened his uniform. Change of plans. Set course for that station. If there are allies out there, we need to find them before Krell's forces find us. The Defiance turned silently in space, heading toward an uncertain rendezvous and a conflict far bigger than one ship could handle alone. Humanity's return to the stars had begun with a battle, but perhaps it would continue with an alliance. The war for the galaxy's future was just beginning. The Defiance moved quietly through the asteroid field, its damaged hull blending with the rocky surroundings. Captain Jack stood on the bridge, watching as they approached the coordinates from the mysterious transmission. Any signs of a trap? He asked, not taking his eyes off the main screen. Tina shook her head. Nothing on sensors, Captain. But this field messes with our readings. Could be hiding anything. Jack nodded. The decision to come here had been risky. The crew had voted. Most agreed they needed allies, but some worried they were flying straight into Council hands. There, pointed Rex. That large asteroid. It's hollow. As they drew closer, they could see what looked like an old mining station built into the massive rock. Metal doors, long unused, stood half open like a mouth waiting to swallow them. Scan for life signs, Jack ordered. I'm picking up several, Tina replied. Not human. Different from what we saw on the Council ships. They're waiting inside. Jack took a deep breath. Take us in, slow approach. Weapons on standby but not locked. Let's not start shooting unless we have to. The Defiance eased forward, sliding through the open doors into a vast, dark hangar. As the ship's lights swept the area, they revealed rusty mining equipment and several smaller ships parked in the shadows. Match their atmosphere and prepare the landing party, Jack said. Pete, Rex, Anna, you're with me. Everyone else stays alert. If things go wrong, don't wait for orders. Get the ship out safely. Inside the abandoned control room of the mining station, a group of aliens waited nervously. Their leader, Mira, paced back and forth. She was tall and slender with pale blue, skin that seemed to shimmer in the dim light. Unlike the Council forces, her people looked almost human-like, except for their color and the slight glow of their eyes. "They're here," said one of her companions, looking at a monitor. "Just one ship, as promised." "Are you sure this is wise?" asked another. "If the Council discovers we've made contact with humans..." "The Council has lied to us for generations." Mira cut him off. "It's time we learned the truth." The door slid open and 4 humans entered cautiously. Mira noticed right away how similar they were to her own kind. More solid, different colored, but the same basic shape. The records were right. "I am Captain Jack of the Earth vessel Defiance," said the lead human. "We received your message." Mira stepped forward. "I am Mira of the Solarians. The message you received was from our agent in the Council, Tora. She risked everything to contact you." "Where is she now?" Jack asked. Mira's expression darkened. "Captured. The Council doesn't tolerate those who question." Admiral Krell watched with satisfaction as the prisoner was brought before him. Intelligence Officer Tora looked defiant despite her bruised face. "You sent a message to the humans," he stated. "It wasn't a question." "They deserve to know the truth," she replied. Krell laughed, a harsh sound. "The truth? That humans were once part of our community? That they were quarantined not for violence but for their annoying habit of questioning authority?" He waved a dismissive hand. "Ancient history." "Not so ancient," Tora said quietly. "The files show Earth was isolated only 5,000 years ago. A blink in galactic time, and they were already developing space travel then. Imagine what they might have become now." "It doesn't matter," Krell snapped. "They will be eliminated before they can cause trouble. My battle group leaves within the hour." He leaned close to her. "And you will tell me who else knows about this? Who else helped you access those files?" Tora smiled thinly. "The Solarians helped me, and they've already contacted the humans." Krell's 4 eyes widened in alarm. He turned to his aide. "Change of plans. Track that human ship. Now." Back at the mining station, Mira led the humans into a small meeting room where a holographic display showed maps of the galaxy. "Our peoples share more than you know," she explained. "The Solarians and humans are distant cousins, both evolved from the same seeded species in different parts of the galaxy." "Seeded?" Anna asked, her medical curiosity engaged. "The oldest races spread life across the stars," Mira said. "But that's a story for another time. What matters now is that the Council fears both our peoples for the same reason. We don't blindly obey." Jack studied the star map. "So where do we fit in? One damaged ship against an entire galactic government doesn't sound like good odds." "We have a network of rebels," Mira explained. "Small groups on many worlds who question Council rule. But we needed a spark, something to show resistance is possible." She looked Jack directly in the eyes. "Your ship fighting off a Council patrol was that spark. News is spreading even though they try to control it." Rex frowned. "So we're propaganda?" "Your hope," Mira corrected. "And we have technology to share. Ways to repair your ship, improve your weapons." Before Jack could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. One of Mira's crew rushed in. "Council drones!" he shouted. "They found us!" The small automated attack drones swarmed into the asteroid field, scanning every rock. They were the first wave, scouts for the battle group that followed behind. Inside the mining station, panic erupted. Mira's rebels rushed to their ships while the humans ran back toward the Defiance. "We need more time," Sam shouted over the comm. "The new tech Mira gave us isn't integrated yet," Jack thought quickly. "Tina, what's the composition of these asteroids?" "Mostly iron and nickel," she replied. Some have traces of radioactive elements. Perfect, Jack said. Sam, can you modify our sensor array to send out a pulse that would trigger those elements? Make them look like engine signatures? Sam's voice perked up. Give me 5 minutes. Jack turned to Mira, who had joined them on the run. Get your people to the far side of the field. We're going to create a distraction. Admiral Krell watched impatiently as his drones searched the asteroid field. His battle group of 5 large warships waited at the edge, weapons charged. Sir, called his sensor operator, we're detecting multiple engine signatures throughout the field. How many? Krell demanded. Dozens, sir. Possibly 100. It appears to be a major rebel fleet. Krell's eyes narrowed. Impossible. Send half. The drones to investigate. Prepare the battle group to. He never finished his sentence as a massive explosion ripped through the asteroid field. The humans had detonated charged particles in several asteroids, creating a chain reaction that destroyed most of the drones and disrupted the sensors of Krell's ships. In the confusion, the Defiance and 3 smaller Solarian vessels slipped away from the mining station, taking a hidden route through a dense dust cloud. On the bridge, Jack looked at Mira with new respect. Your people fought well. Mira nodded. As did yours. The Council won't expect humans to adapt so quickly to space combat. Where to now? Jack asked. Mira's eyes gleamed with excitement. There's an ancient station in the Forbidden Sector. The old records Tora found suggest it contains technology from before the Council took control. Technology that might help us. Fight back. Jack smiled. Then that's where we're going. Looks like one human ship just found some friends in this galaxy after all. As the small rebel fleet jumped to lightspeed, news of their escape spread among hidden resistance groups across the stars. The war had only just begun, but for the first time in 5,000 years, the Council faced an enemy they didn't understand. Humanity was back. The small fleet of ships dropped out of hyperspace in a region of space that seemed darker than normal. Few stars shone here, and those that did appeared dim and distant. Captain Jack stood on the bridge of the Defiance, looking at the main view screen with a mixture of awe and unease. The Forbidden Sector, said Mira, who stood beside him. No Council ships patrol here. They claim it's because of dangerous radiation, but the truth is, they fear what might be found. And what exactly are we looking for? Jack asked. Mira pointed to a faint shape in the distance. That, as they drew closer, the shape became clearer. A massive space station, its design unlike anything the humans had seen before. It wasn't the straight lines and efficient angles of Council architecture, nor was it like Earth's practical, functional designs. This was something else entirely. Curved, almost organic, as if it had grown rather than been built. It's ancient, Mira explained. Dating back to before the Council ruled the galaxy. The records Tora found suggest it was built by the same civilization that first brought humans into the galactic community. The ships approached cautiously. The station appeared, dead with no lights or signs of power. Its surface was scarred by what looked like weapons fire from long ago. No energy readings, reported Tina from her sensor station. If there's anything working in there, it's well shielded. Jack turned to Sam, who had been studying the station's design. What do you think? Can we dock safely? The engineer nodded, slowly. Those look like docking ports along the lower section. Old design, but I think we can modify our airlocks to connect. Do it, Jack ordered. Then he turned to Mira. I want to know exactly what we're looking for in there. Mira's eyes gleamed in the dim light of the bridge. Knowledge, power, and perhaps a way to defend Earth when the Council decides to break the quarantine and attack your homeworld. 3 hours later, a mixed team of humans and Solarians made their way through the dark corridors of the ancient station. Their flashlights created eerie shadows as they moved deeper into the structure. The air is breathable, noted Anna, checking her handheld scanner. Someone designed this place to last. Rex ran his hand along a wall. These markings, they look like some form of writing. Mira nodded. The language of the predecessors, those who came before all of us. They continued forward until they reached a vast circular chamber. In the center stood what appeared to be a control pedestal. Sam approached it cautiously. This design, it's strange but somehow familiar, almost like it was made for human hands. Or Solarian, added Mira, holding up her own hand, which did indeed look very similar to a human's despite her blue skin. Sam studied the pedestal more closely. I think it needs power. He opened his pack and pulled out a portable generator they had brought from the Defiance. With careful movements, he connected it to what seemed to be power inputs on the base of the pedestal. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a low hum, lights began to appear throughout the chamber. The pedestal itself glowed with a soft blue light, and symbols appeared on its surface. "Can anyone read this?" Jack asked, looking at the unfamiliar script. Before anyone could answer, the symbols shifted, changing form until they became recognizable as modern Galactic Standard Language. "Welcome, descendants," a voice said from nowhere and everywhere at once. Adaptive translation complete. The team stepped back in surprise as a holographic figure appeared above the pedestal. It had a vaguely humanoid shape, but was composed of light patterns that constantly shifted and flowed. "I am Sentinel," the figure said, "guardian of knowledge and keeper of truths." Jack stepped forward. "I am Captain Jack of the Earth vessel Defiance." The hologram seemed to study him. "Earth, human. It has been 5,247 standard years since humans last accessed this facility." Mira gasped. "That matches the time frame of the quarantine." Sentinel turned its attention to her. "Solarian, genetic cousins to humans, both seeded from the same source material by the predecessors." "What happened here?" Jack asked. "Why was this station abandoned? Why were humans quarantined from the rest of the galaxy?" The hologram flickered slightly. "This station was a center for knowledge exchange between species. It was attacked by those who sought to control rather than share. As for humans..." The figure seemed to look directly at Jack. "Your kind was feared not for your weapons or aggression, but for your unpredictability, your ability to adapt, to find solutions others could not see." "The Council," Mira said bitterly. "Yes," confirmed Sentinel. "They established their rule by creating standardized systems for everything. Technology, governance, thought itself. Humans refused to conform. You asked questions. You found different paths. This made you dangerous to their order." Jack's expression hardened. "So they locked us away, kept us isolated from the rest of the galaxy." "They attempted to erase your existence from galactic history," Sentinel said, "but some remembered. Some preserved the truth." Sam, who had been examining the technology around them, spoke up. "Can you help us? The Council knows we've broken quarantine. They'll attack Earth soon." The hologram seemed to consider this. "This facility contains defensive technology that was once used to protect free worlds from Council aggression. It has lain dormant for millennia, but it can be reactivated." Hope surged through the team. Jack stepped closer to the hologram. "Where is this technology? How do we access it?" Sentinel's form expanded, and a holographic map of the galaxy appeared around them. A point of light pulsed in a sector not far from their current position. "There," the hologram said. "A shield generator capable of protecting an entire star system. It was hidden before the final assault on this station." "This could save Earth," Jack said, his voice filled with determination. Suddenly, alarms blared. Throughout the station, Sentinel's form flickered more violently. "Warning. Council vessels detected entering the sector. Their numbers are significant." Jack turned to the others. "How did they find us?" Rex checked his scanner. "The power surge when we activated this place must have been detectable even through the radiation fields." Jack's mind raced. They were trapped in an ancient, mostly powerless station with multiple Council warships closing in, but they also had the location of a weapon that could save Earth. "Sentinel," he said urgently, "can you download your data to our systems? We need everything you know about the shield generator and human history in the galaxy." The hologram nodded. "Initiating data transfer." Sam quickly connected their portable systems to the pedestal. This will take a few minutes. Minutes we may not have, said Mira, who was receiving reports from the ships they had left docked outside. Admiral Krell himself is leading this attack. 5 capital ships and a full support fleet. Jack looked at the map still hovering in the air, showing the location of the shield generator. They had to reach it. Earth's survival depended on it. We need a plan, he said, his voice steady despite the danger. And I think I have one. It's risky. But if there's one thing the Council still doesn't understand about humans, it's how dangerous we can be when cornered. As the data transfer continued, Jack gathered the team to explain his idea. Outside, the Council ships moved into attack position, their weapons charging. The race to save Earth had become a desperate fight for survival. Alarms blared throughout the Defiance as the ship rocketed away from the ancient station. Behind them, the first shots from Admiral Krell's fleet slammed into the abandoned structure, tearing apart its outer sections. Did everyone make it back? Aboard? Jack asked, gripping the arms of his command chair as the ship shook. All accounted for, Rex confirmed. Mira and her team are on their ships. Data transfer from Sentinel completed at 97% before we had to disconnect. On the main screen, they could see the Council ships, 5 massive warships surrounded by smaller attack vessels. They were forming a blockade, cutting off the most direct route to the coordinates of the shield generator. They want us to run, Jack said, understanding the enemy's strategy. They're leaving a path open for us to flee, probably right into another ambush. Sam looked up from where he was analyzing the data they had downloaded. Captain, I found something. According to these star charts, there's a wormhole junction about half a light year from here. It's a nexus point with paths to 7 different sectors. Including the one where the shield generator is located? Jack asked. Sam nodded. Yes, but according to Sentinel's data, the Council strictly controls this junction. It's heavily guarded. Jack studied the tactical display, a plan forming in his mind. What if we don't try to sneak through? What if we do something they would never expect? Like what? Tina asked. Like turn a wormhole into a weapon, Jack replied. Admiral Krell watched with narrowed eyes as the human ship and its Solarian allies changed course, heading away from his fleet, but not in the direction he had expected. They're moving toward the Nexus Junction, his tactical officer reported. Should we pursue? No, Krell said, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence as he thought. They're heading into a trap. Commander Vex has 2 patrol groups stationed at the junction. Alert him that targets are incoming. His communications officer hesitated. Sir, Commander Vex reports the junction is experiencing unusual gravitational fluctuations. 3 of the wormhole paths have become unstable. Krell frowned. Natural phenomenon? Unknown, sir. It began shortly after the human ship left the ancient station. Something didn't feel right. Krell had studied what little the Council knew about humans. They were adaptable, unpredictable. Set course for the junction, he ordered. Maximum speed. The Nexus Junction came into view. A spectacular sight where space itself seemed to twist and bend. 7 massive wormholes arranged in a circle, each leading to a different sector of the galaxy. Around them floated Council defense platforms and patrol ships. On the bridge of the Defiance, Jack turned to Sam. Are you ready? The engineer nodded, though sweat beaded on his forehead. It's untested technology, Captain. Based on the mining, techniques we use on Earth but scaled up significantly. What exactly are we doing? Asked Mira through the communication link from her ship. On Earth, we use controlled resonance waves to break apart rock formations when mining, Jack explained. Sam believes we can modify our shield emitters to create similar waves that will affect the gravitational stability of the wormholes. You want to collapse the wormholes? Mira asked, sounding shocked. Not collapse them, Sam corrected. Just disrupt them enough to create chaos. It's like throwing a stone into a pond. The ripples will affect everything nearby. Jack nodded. The Council ships have standardized shields calibrated for energy weapons and physical impacts. They won't be prepared for gravitational distortions. The plan was risky, but it was their only chance. They needed to break through to the shield generator coordinates, and this junction was the only way to get there quickly enough. Council, ships are hailing us, Rex reported. They're ordering us to power down and prepare to be boarded. Ignore them, Jack said. All ships move into position. Execute on my mark. The small fleet split up, each vessel taking position near a different wormhole entrance. The Council patrol ships began to move to intercept. Now, Jack ordered. The Defiance's modified shields activated, sending invisible waves of energy toward the nearest wormhole. The other Allied ships did the same. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then space itself began to tremble. Commander Vex watched in horror as his sensor displays went crazy. The wormholes were fluctuating wildly, their entrances expanding and contracting like beating hearts. What are they doing? He demanded. Stop them. His ships opened fire, but the gravitational distortions were already affecting their targeting systems. Most shots went wide, and those that did hit seemed to have minimal effect. Then the first patrol ship was caught in a gravitational wave. It spun helplessly, crashing into a defense platform. Both exploded in a ball of fire. It's working, Sam shouted over the noise of straining engines. The junction is destabilizing. On the main screen, they could see the Council forces in disarray. Ships tumbled out of control as the gravity waves rippled through the area. 2 of the wormholes had grown to twice their normal size, while others had shrunk almost to nothing. Alcimwang. Ships head for the Sector 7 passage, Jack ordered. That was the wormhole that would take them closest to the shield generator's coordinates. The Defiance led the way, diving toward one of the larger wormholes. Behind them, new alarms sounded. Admiral Krell's fleet has arrived, Tina reported. They're launching fighters. Jack gripped his chair tighter. How long until we can enter the wormhole? 30 seconds, replied the pilot. But in its unstable state, I can't guarantee a safe passage. We don't need guarantees, Jack said firmly. We need courage. At that moment, several Council fighters caught up to them, firing repeatedly at the Defiance's engines. Shields failing. Rex shouted. Divert all power to engines, Jack ordered. We need to reach that wormhole. The ship surged forward, trailing debris and venting plasma. The wormhole entrance loomed ahead, a swirling mass of energy that pulsed erratically. 10 seconds to entry, the pilot called out. A massive explosion rocked the ship as one of the enemy shots found its mark. The main lights failed, replaced by red emergency lighting. We've lost the port engine, Sam reported from engineering. We're drifting off course. Jack looked at the tactical display. Mira's ship was still intact, still on course for the wormhole, but the Defiance was falling behind, becoming an easy target for Krell's approaching fleet. Mira, Jack called over. The comm. You need to go through. Get to the shield generator. We'll hold them off as long as we can. No, came Mira's response. We go together or not at all. Before Jack could argue, a small Solarian craft piloted by one of Mira's crew shot forward, placing itself between the Defiance and the attacking fighters. This is Pilot Alex, came a calm voice. I'll buy you time. They watched in awe as the small craft executed a series of impossible maneuvers, drawing enemy fire and creating a path for the damaged Defiance. Get to your crash positions. Jack ordered his crew. We're going through. With its remaining engine blazing at full power, the human ship lurched toward the wormhole entrance. Behind them, Alex's ship erupted in flames as it rammed a Council fighter, taking out 3 more in the resulting explosion. The last thing Jack saw before the swirling energies of the wormhole engulfed them was Admiral Krell's flagship opening fire, its massive weapons tearing through the space they had just occupied. Then everything became a blur of light and sound as the small fleet of rebels plunged into the unknown, leaving chaos in their wake. Emerging from the wormhole was like being born again. The Defiance tumbled through space, systems flickering as the crew fought to regain control. 3 Solarian ships followed behind, their hulls scorched but intact. Damage report, Jack called, out wiping blood from a cut on his forehead. Rex checked his console. Life support stable, weapons at 30%, Engine 2 completely gone, Engine 1 at 60% capacity. Communications damaged but working. Where are we? Jack asked. Tina studied her readings. Exactly where we wanted to be. The shield generator coordinates are in this system, about half a light hour from our position. The crew let out a ragged cheer. They had made it through against impossible odds. Jack allowed himself a small smile before turning serious again. What about Krell? Any sign of pursuit? Not yet, replied Rex. The wormhole is still unstable. They'll have trouble following right away, but they will come. Jack nodded. Then we don't have much time. Let's find this weapon before they arrive. The small fleet limped toward a distant moon orbiting a gas giant. According to Sentinel's data, this was where the ancient shield generator had been hidden. As they drew closer, they could see the moon was little more than a barren rock, its surface pockmarked with craters. I'm not detecting any artificial structures, Tina reported, frowning at her console. It must be underground, Mira suggested through the comm link, or hidden by some technology we can't detect. Sam, who had been analyzing the data from Sentinel, spoke up. Wait, these coordinates aren't pointing to the moon itself. They're leading us to a specific point in its orbit. Understanding dawned on Jack's face. It's not on the moon. It's in orbit around it, cloaked somehow. He ordered the ships to adjust course, moving to the exact coordinates Sentinel had provided. For a few tense minutes, nothing happened. Then suddenly, Tina's console lit up with new readings. Something's there, she exclaimed. Some kind of energy field is reacting to our presence. Before them, space seemed to ripple and fold. Then, like a curtain being pulled aside, a massive structure appeared. It wasn't a weapon or shield generator as they had expected. It was a space station, but unlike any they had seen before. Its design was elegant, peaceful even, with sweeping curves and gleaming surfaces that reflected the distant sun. It's beautiful, Anna whispered. Jack studied the structure carefully. Any defenses? Weapon systems? Nothing obvious, replied Rex. In fact, I'm picking up an automated docking signal. It's inviting us in. Jack exchanged glances with his officers. It could be a trap, but they had come too far to turn back now. Take us in, he ordered, but stay alert. The inside of the station was even more impressive than its exterior. Wide corridors with high ceilings led to open chambers filled with what appeared to be gardens and fountains, though they had long since dried up. The air was stale but breathable. Jack led a mixed team of humans and Solarians through the station, following the directions provided by Sentinel's data. They eventually reached a central chamber where a large console stood covered in dust. This is it, Sam said, approaching the console. According to the data, this is the control center for the weapon. Carefully, he wiped away the dust and placed his hands on what appeared to be a control panel. The surface responded to his touch, lighting up with soft blue light. A holographic display appeared above the console, showing the galaxy in miniature. Points of light indicated thousands of worlds connected by lines representing trade routes and communication networks. I don't understand, Jack said, staring at the display. Where's the weapon? The shield technology? The hologram shifted, zooming in on their current location. A soft female voice spoke, similar to Sentinel's but somehow warmer. Welcome, seekers of truth. You have found not a weapon, but something far more powerful. This is the Harmony Array, created by the coalition of free worlds before the councils. Rise to power. Sam's eyes widened as he studied the data streaming across his device. It's a communication system, the most powerful ever built. It can broadcast to every world in the galaxy simultaneously, bypassing all council communication controls. Jack looked confused. But Sentinel said it was a defensive system that could protect Earth. Knowledge is the ultimate defense, the voice replied. The Council's power comes from control of information. They isolate worlds like Earth to prevent ideas from spreading. This array was built to ensure truth could never be silenced. Mira stepped forward, her eyes shining. That's why they feared humans. Not because you were violent, but because you shared ideas freely. Because you questioned everything. And that's why they quarantined Earth, Jack said slowly, understanding, dawning. They didn't want our questions spreading to other worlds. Sam was already working at the console. There's more here. Historical records, data about every world in the galaxy, including Earth. The true history of the Council's rise to power. Can we use it? Jack asked. Can we actually broadcast to the entire galaxy? Sam nodded. The system is operational. It just needs to be activated. A new alarm sounded from their communication devices. Captain, came Tina's voice from the Defiance. Council ships have emerged from the wormhole. They've found us. Admiral Krell's fleet is on approach. Weapons. Hot. Jack looked at the holographic display, at the countless worlds that had lived under Council rule for millennia. Worlds that had forgotten there was another way to live. How long until they reach us? He asked. 20 minutes at most, Tina replied. Jack turned to his team. Then we have 20 minutes to change the galaxy. Sam, get this array online. Mira, gather every piece of evidence about Earth's quarantine and the Council's lies. We're going to tell everyone the truth. Admiral Krell stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching as they approached the now visible ancient station. Target their engines and communication systems, he ordered. I want that human ship disabled, not destroyed. They must not be allowed to reach Earth with what they've learned. His tactical officer hesitated. Sir, we're detecting an unusual energy buildup from the station. It appears to be some kind of transmission. Krell's four eyes widened in alarm. Jam it, now. We can't, the officer replied, panic in his voice. It's using frequencies and methods we've never seen before. It's bypassing all our communication blocks. On the station, Jack stood before a simple recording device. Behind him, Sam worked furiously to keep the broadcast running while Council jamming attempts bounced harmlessly off the ancient technology. People of the galaxy, Jack began, his voice calm and clear. My name is Captain Jack of the Earthship Defiance. You may have heard that a human vessel attacked Council forces without provocation. That is a lie. He gestured to the historical records displayed beside him. The truth is that humans were once part of the galactic community. We were quarantined 5,000 years ago, not because we were dangerous, but because we asked questions the Council didn't want answered. As he spoke, the broadcast reached world after world. On thousands of planets, normal Council transmissions were interrupted. In homes, workplaces, and public squares, beings of all species watched and listened as a human told them about freedom they had forgotten. The Council doesn't protect you, Jack continued. It controls you. It standardizes your technology, your governance, even your thoughts. It isolates any species that dares to be different. He held up the data crystal containing Sentinel's historical records. We have proof. Earth was not the first world to be quarantined, and unless something changes, it won't be the last. Outside, Krell's ships had arrived, surrounding the station. Their weapons powered up, ready to fire. We may not survive the next few minutes, Jack said, his voice unwavering. But our message will. The truth cannot be quarantined. Freedom of thought cannot be standardized. The Council's time is ending. On countless worlds, something long dormant began to stir. Questions were asked. Records were examined. Old tales of a time before the Council suddenly seemed less like legends and more like history. As the first shots from Krell's fleet struck the station, Jack looked at his crew and their Solarian allies. Despite the danger, he saw no fear in their eyes, only determination. We did it, Mira said softly. The revolution has begun. Jack nodded. And whatever happens next, Earth will not stand alone. The station shook as more weapons fire hit it, but the broadcast continued, spreading across the stars like a wildfire of truth. On some worlds, beings were already taking to the streets. On others, leaders were questioning orders from the Council, for the first time in memory. The war that had started with one human ship was no longer just about survival. It had become something much greater, a fight for the freedom of an entire galaxy. And somewhere in the darkness of space, a small fleet was already plotting a course to Earth, carrying allies and hope for the battles yet to come.